In this video, I'm ranking the most popular credit cards for 2023 from the best all the way to the worst. These rankings focus on the average value that most people should expect out of these cards and are based on my decade plus of experience playing the credit card game. Let's go. All right, so here we are in the tier list. Let's just go over what each of these tiers actually mean. All right, so starting off with the God tier / S tier, most people can get amazing value out of these with no downside, and most people should have at least one or more of these. Next up is the A tier. Most people can get great or amazing value with very little downside, and most people should have one or more of these. Next up for the B tier, you can get amazing value out of these depending on your spending habits, but they can have pretty big downsides. So you might have one or two of these. In the C tier, you can get good value, but they're mostly outclassed by cards in higher tiers. And these are probably cards that you got earlier in your credit card career. The D tier cards are good for specific niche uses like building credit, churning, or keeping points. And you also might have a couple of these from earlier in your credit card career. And finally, we have the trash tier. These are ones that you should just not even bother with. Just don't even touch them at all. All right, so starting off with the Amex Blue Cash Everyday. I'm gonna go ahead and put this one in the A tier, and here's why. So it has no annual fee, which is pretty great right off the bat for getting value. You get a flat 3% cash back on groceries, you get a flat 3% back on some online retail purchases, and you get a flat 3% cash back on gas. So with no annual fee and 3% cash back on some solid categories, pretty clear where the value is here. It also comes with some additional credits, so that's great too. All right, so next up is going to be the American Express Gold Card. Now, this might be a hot take, but I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the B tier, and here's why. So first off, this card has a $250 annual fee. That is pretty steep and on the higher end for some of these cards. You get 4x points at restaurants plus takeout and delivery. You get 4x points on groceries. You get 3x points on air travel booked either through the airline directly or through Amex, and then 1x points on everything else. So unless you're spending a lot in those categories, it would be really difficult to, make up for that annual fee. But thankfully, the gold card does come with credits as well. So you get $120 worth of dining credit each year, and that's split up into $10 per month, which is unfortunately use it or lose it, to different restaurants, the most notable ones being Grubhub and Shake Shack. And Cheesecake Factory is up there too, that one's pretty solid. You also get $120 per year or $10 a month in Uber Cash, which is also use it or lose it, and you can use that on Uber Rides or Uber Eats. So that's $240 worth of credits total, which is why I put this in the B tier, because not everyone is gonna be able to use those credits effectively, and then you're just paying for an expensive annual fee, especially if you can't make it up with the points. All right, next up is the Chase Sapphire Reserve. Now this one might also be another one of a hot take, but I'm actually gonna put this in the B tier as well. So the Chase Sapphire Reserve has an annual fee of $550, which is very steep, but it does have $300 worth of travel credit that you can use anywhere that offsets that. So effectively it's $250. But from there, there's not many more credits besides, like pre-check and lounges. So you have to make up all of that value with points, basically. It does come with a pretty solid welcome bonus of 60,000 points after you spend $4,000 in purchases in the first 3 months. So that's pretty good. And then as far as points on spending, you get 3x points on dining at restaurants, including delivery services, which is pretty solid. And you also get 3x points on all travel, which is very good too. And again, you also get that complimentary lounge access and your free global entry or pre-check. You can also get 5x points on flights when you purchase directly through Chase Ultimate Rewards. And you also get 10x points on hotels and rental cars when you purchase that through Chase Travel as well. So potentially really powerful. But basically, you have to make up that entire $250 effective annual fee after the travel credit with just points, which can be a lot. It actually requires kind of a lot of spending to make up for it. So this is why I put it in the B tier, because not everyone is going to be able to get value out of this card. All right, now let's get into our first God tier card, and that's going to be the Bilt Rewards MasterCard. Now this card I've covered in a review, and it is absolutely insane. It's the only card of its kind where you can pay for rent and even mortgage and HOA in my case. It's just absolutely incredible that you can actually get points from that now, specifically without having to pay any sort of transaction fee on that. So if you want to find out more about this card, I covered it in this review right up here. And the benefits don't just stop there. It also comes with a bunch of other great perks like 2x points on all travel, 3x points on all dining, and a whole slew of other great perks. So definitely check this one out if you're interested. This is one that should be in everyone's wallet. All right, so next one is going to be the Citi Double Cash, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this one in the C category. So this is one of these just flat 2% cards that give you just 2% on everything. There's no real other perks or anything like that, which 2% is pretty solid actually. So, you know, if you're just looking for cash back, this could be a good card, but again, it's probably gonna be outclassed by other cards. So for our first card in the D tier, this is going to be our Amex Everyday card. So this is generally like an okay card, but it has one really good niche use, and that's if you're downgrading something like the Amex Gold card or the Amex Platinum card, which we'll rank in just a sec. So basically, if you have either of those cards in your account and you decide that you don't want to pay the annual fee anymore and you close that card with Amex points in your account, you will lose all of them. So what you can do is actually downgrade the Gold or the Platinum card to the Amex Everyday, and the Everyday also earns Amex points, so you would get to keep all of your hard-earned points while also getting rid of that annual fee. And the reason that you would want to do this instead of just outright canceling your card, number one, you get to keep those points, and number two, it will not impact your credit score because you're basically just transferring that line of credit from your original card, like the Gold or the Platinum, over to the Everyday. So if you do that, it will not impact your credit score. All right, next up, we have the Chase Freedom Unlimited. This is the easiest God tier ever. And I'm also going to group the Freedom Flex in with there as well. That's also an easy God tier, and the perks are actually very, very similar. So first up, with both these cards, as you can actually kind of see on the corners, they have no annual fee, which is super powerful just right out of the gate. So next up, both of these have $200 each that you can get of sign-up bonuses that you can get from spending $500 on purchases in the first 3 months. So no annual fee card with a sign-up bonus is looking pretty good already. So next up, you can get 5% cash back or points on travel booked through the Chase Ultimate Rewards for both of these cards. You can also earn 3% on dining at restaurants, including takeout and delivery services. You can get 3% or 3x points on drugstore purchases like at CVS or Walgreens. And then for the Freedom Flex, and here's where it's a little different for the two, for the Freedom Unlimited on the left, you get 1.5% back or points on all purchases. And on the Freedom Flex, you get 1% back on all purchases, but you also get 5% or 5x points on rotating categories. Now for me personally, the rotating categories are a little less consistent, obviously, so I'm not as big of a fan, but I love the Chase Freedom Unlimited, and I still have both of these cards. Both of these come with a low intro APR of 0% for 15 months after opening the card, which is great. And the cool thing with these cards is since they earn points within your Chase account, you can actually transfer those points that you earn on these cards into something like the Chase Sapphire Preferred or Reserve that will let you get even more value out of those points. So effectively, you could even double or triple the value that you get out of the points from these two cards by enabling it with one of the Chase Sapphire cards. So yeah, these are incredible cards. Everyone should have these in their wallet, and I still use them to this day. Okay, so next up, let's get some Capital One on the board. I'm gonna go ahead and take the Savor One, and we're going to rank that at the A tier. So the Savor One, again, has 0 annual fee, and you can earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining, entertainment, and popular streaming services and at grocery stores. So the main ones there being the dining and the grocery stores. So it's a little similar to the Amex Blue Cash Everyday that is also in the same tier. It also has an annual fee of $200, but you have to spend $1,000, which is a lot, but if you have no other welcome bonuses to get, it's better than nothing. And the cash back is still very solid. And again, with no annual fee, you don't really have to spend much to get a lot of value out of it. All right, now let's get to our first trash tier. So this is going to be a Credit One. So this card, it's different than Capital One, right? So you see how these logos look pretty similar, but you know, it's Credit One versus Capital One. Capital One is good. Credit One is trash. Basically, every credit card from this company is extremely predatory. They will try and stab you in the back at any chance that they can get. So definitely stay away from these cards, and there's plenty of other companies like that. Just in general rule, just stay away from any predatory credit card company. You also generally want to stay away from credit cards that have high annual fees and low rewards, which is what a lot of these companies actually offer. If you're really having trouble, just stick with a secured card like the one I'm going to show you in just a sec. back. So speaking of that secured card, let's go ahead and rank that. So it's going to be this Discover It secured card, and I'm going to go ahead and put this in the D tier. So it has that niche use of being really good at rebuilding credit. So this secured card is the best on the market. You get a flat 1.5 to 2% back on all purchases for a secured card, which is wild already. And for a secured card, you have to put down basically a security deposit, and then that ends up being your credit limit. And most of these don't even come with rewards in general, so it's just a great card. And if you're looking to rebuild credit or you're just starting out, definitely grab one of these. All right, so now let's move on to one of my personal favorites. This is going to be the American Express Platinum card. Now, for me, this would be a god tier card, but for most people, they're not going to get as much value. So that's why it's going to go in the B tier. So it's going to be a little more situational. So basically what it boils down to is it has a $695 annual fee, which is a lot. It's a lot of money, but it also has a ton of credits that you can use to help offset that annual fee. You can get a ton of value out of this card, but if you're not spending those credits, which a lot of people don't, it's not worth it. All right, so next up, we're gonna do this Discover It travel card. So this is gonna go in the C tier. So basically what the Discover It travel card gets you is 1.5x points on all purchases. And if you remember from earlier, the Chase Freedom Unlimited basically has the exact same thing, plus additional ways to earn even more points, like the 3% on drugstores and the 5% on Chase Travel. And on top of all that, you can also transfer those points from the Freedom Unlimited to one of the Sapphire cards to get even more value out of those, and you can't even do that with the Discover. So that's why it's in the C tier. It's just basically entirely outclassed by the Freedom Unlimited and even the Freedom Flex to a degree, and yeah, it's just not really worth picking up, and it's very skippable. All right, so next up, let's go ahead and talk about the Venture X. So this one is a solid A tier card. So basically, it's a premium travel card with a $395 annual fee, which sounds steep, but it comes with a $300 a year travel credit. So already effectively, you're only paying $95 in annual fees. And on top of that, you also get 10,000 points per anniversary year, which is worth about $100. So if you do the math, they're effectively paying you $5 to keep this card open. And another great thing I like about this card is that you get at least 2x points on all purchases. Doesn't matter where you're spending, you get flat 2x points, if not more in some cases. So if you want to rack up those travel points, this is a great everyday spend card. Flat 2% points that you can get, extra value out of is amazing. So this is a very underrated card right now. I would definitely look into it, and it's actually going to be my next one for sure. All right, another one in the A tier is going to be the Amex Green card. So this is a very underrated card right now. Basically, you get 3x points on all dining and takeout and delivery and stuff like that. You also get 3x points on all travel and transit. So this card's pretty unique within Amex. So usually with the other cards like the Platinum and the Gold, they have like really specific categories that you have to spend on. So for example, like for flights, you have to book directly with the airline or through Amex. You can't say book through Expedia and get the big points as well. But with the Green card, you can. So I really like the flexibility that the Green card has. What's great is you can also pair it with something like the Amex Platinum. I think these two actually make a really great combo for traveling. And so I highly recommend looking into this one. I've reviewed it. Link is up here and down below. It has a $150 annual fee, which is not insignificant, but it has some credits. So, one of, for example, is the clear credit for each year. So if you just use that each year, they're effectively paying you like $30 to keep the card up. Pretty cool card, very underrated. Check it out. All right, next up, we're gonna do the Citi Custom Cash. Now, believe it or not, this is actually going to be a god tier as well, because so basically this card gives you 5% on whatever category that you spend the most on. And so this can be anything from like gas, groceries, travel, basically whatever you don't have in other credit cards, you can use this card to fill in the gap. So for me, I don't really have a good gas card, so I could also use this for groceries as well and get 5% back on those categories. So incredible card. It's literally designed to fit your spending habit and however you want to use it. So it's a card that everyone should have. All right, so let's move on to some more trash tier cards. Now these might be some hot takes, but believe it or not, it's going to be the Amex Centurion or Black card and the JP Morgan Reserve. So basically why these are in the trash trash tier is because they have absolutely astronomically absurd annual fees or effective annual fees. So for the Amex Centurion card, you basically have to spend like, $250,000 per year for several years just to even be invited to apply for the card. And then once you do get that card, if you do get accepted, you have to pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. I think it's what, $10,000 for like an initiation fee, and then it's an extra $5,000 per year just to keep the card open. It's great for flexing, but that's literally it. It's the exact same card as the Amex Platinum, which is also a good card in the right use cases, but it's not worth it for most people. Like even if you're a 1%er, you probably got to be in the top 0.1%, I would say, to even like think about this card. And at that point, like, money is no object. So, and kind of same deal with the JP Morgan Reserve. This one could make a little bit more sense, but basically you have to have at least several hundreds of thousands of dollars in their wealth management program, which sounds good, but basically they charge you pretty crazy asset management fees on top of that. So effectively, in like the annual fee, like best case is going to be like $7,000 effectively from those management fees. And it's just really not worth it, especially when you can just buy the S&P 500 index fund and probably outperform whatever they would do to your account. So that's why these are in the trash tier. But if you do have one of these, you can just go ahead and add me as an authorized user. All right, next up is the Apple Card. So this one is pretty solid, and it is pretty hyped up. It's gonna go in the A tier just because if you use it for Apple Pay, which a lot of places now accept, it's a flat 3% cashback card, which is pretty solid. And then also if you have one of these, you can also access the Apple HYSA, the high yield savings account. It has a pretty decent rate and it's pretty good. So, if you're an Apple user and you just want everything to be super simple and sleek, Apple Card is great. Next up is going to be the Capital One Quicksilver. And I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the C tier. Now, this one is one that is near and dear to my heart. It was one of my very first credit cards that I ever got. It used to have insane perks, but now the perks are just like decent. Basically, it's 1.5% cash back on everything with no foreign transaction fees. It also has a $200 sign-up bonus after spending $500 in the first 3 months, which is pretty solid. I really like the card. It's a great, maybe second or third card. So I highly recommend getting it, which I also reviewed up here and down below. So go ahead and check that out if you want a little bit more info. But yeah, it's a solid card, but it's not going to be the one that you're going to be using forever. And on that same note, for cards that you're not going to be using forever, we're going to go ahead and throw the Discover It Student Chrome card in there as well. Again, this is for college students that are, probably don't have credit score. So, it's a good card while you're still a student. But yeah, eventually, there's not a whole lot to say about it. It gives you pretty good rewards, but you're going to want to move on from that pretty quickly. And another card you might get in the very beginning that's kind of outclassed by many other cards and that you probably won't use forever is going to be the Discover It Cashback card. Basically, this is a rotating categories card that is, very similar to the Freedom Flex, but you don't get those like the 3% on drugstores and the 5% in Chase Travel. So those are kind of lacking there. And again, you also can't transfer points from the Freedom Flex to one of the Sapphire cards to get even more value out of those. So beyond that, you're not going to be using it forever. All right, so now we finally have the Chase Sapphire Preferred. Now this one is going to be A tier for sure. So it has a $95 annual fee. You can reimburse 50 of that with a hotel credit, which is, pretty usable. So effectively that brings it down to a $45 annual fee, which is pretty solid. You get 2x points on all travel and 3x points on all dining. So this card, if that sounds familiar, this card is very similar to the Bilt MasterCard. Now, of course, the Bilt MasterCard also earns points on rent or mortgage, which is the only card that can do that. And it also has no annual fees. So again, that's why this Bilt card is pretty incredible. But the main thing that the Chase Sapphire Preferred does do is it enables that Chase trifecta. So basically all of those points that you get from the Freedom Flex and the Freedom Unlimited and any other Chase cards that you might have, like, some of the business cards, you can basically transfer those points into the Sapphire Preferred or Reserve. Basically, through transfer partners, you can double the value that you get or even triple or quadruple. It's pretty crazy. So that's why I'm a big fan of this card. And I actually have the Reserve right now. I'm not getting a ton of value out of it. So what I'm going to do is downgrade this card into a no annual fee card and then apply for the Chase Sapphire Preferred. It also has a pretty huge sign-up bonus. So that's another big perk that I'll be getting. So I'm really looking forward to that. All right, and last but not least, we have the Wells Fargo Active Cash card. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and put this one, might be a hot take, but I'm gonna also put this in the A tier. So basically, this is very similar to the Citi Double Cash in that it's a flat 2% card, which, you know, normally isn't that great. But on top of the just flat 2% cash back that you get on everything, which is pretty solid, it comes with a sign-up bonus of $200 after spending $500 in the first 3 months. So again, it's pretty incredible that a no annual fee card gets 2% cash back on all transactions, and it comes with a sign-up bonus. So this is one that you can just sign up for, you can churn, and then you can never touch it again if you have one of the better cards. And that is my entire tier list for the most popular cards for 2023. I'm very interested to see what you guys think of this. Let me know what you have to say down in the comments. So this was a bit of a different style video, so let me know if you guys want to see more of it. And if you do, feel free to subscribe. Also, check out the links to these cards below to help support the channel. I really appreciate you guys watching. Have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take it easy.